In this case, let's do another one. So we're doing, in this case, we're doing a pseudocode and a flowchart. Okay, so when you're doing pseudocode, you can do it in two ways. You can just use pseudocode and you can do it in Google Doc, and you can just write your pseudocode that way. That works just fine with no problem. Okay, if you want to have pseudocode and a flowchart on the same document, then you can again do that in Google Draw. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this example with pseudocode and flowcharts. We'll use Google Drawings and we'll put them both on the same document. Okay, so here what we have is we want to design a program that asks the user for the purchase price of an item, calculates and display the price, including a tax amount of 8.25%. Okay, so we know that we're going to have to do a display. We're going to have to ask you what the price is. Then we're going to do some calculations. What is we know what the tax rate is, 8.25%. We're going to have to calculate the tax, and we're going to have to figure out the total by adding the tax to the price. Okay, so let's go ahead and start this by doing a new Google drawing. Okay, and we'll name this tax calculation. Okay, let's go ahead and change our page size, 8.5 by 11. Okay, let's do the pseudocode first. It's often easier to do the pseudocode first. So let's go ahead and do that. So in order to do that, we're going to use a text box. Okay, so I'm just going to draw a text box here on my screen. I'm going to set the font size to be 11, and then I'm just going to start typing. First thing you need to do is start. Let's actually make that a little bigger so that we can see it for our class. Oops. So the first thing we're going to do is start, okay? Because every program has a start and an end, and so we want to make sure that we've defined that we're starting this main part of the code, okay? Then we want to do an indentation here. It's very important that your code is indented properly. So pseudocode and C# code, the indentation is very important for maintaining readability. So our assignment here is to ask the user for the price of an item, and then to calculate and display the price including tax. So we're going to have to do a display and an input. Well, first we need some declares. Declare price, and we're going to declare that as a decimal. We're going to declare total, decimal total. That's going to be the total cost including the tax. Okay, we could use a constant for the tax rate, or we could just use a literal. In our example in the slides, we actually declared a variable, okay, and we set that equal to 0.0825. We can do that a couple of different ways. Let's keep going for now. So let's just say display, enter the price. We're going to say input price. We're going to do a process here. So now I want to assign the value of total. I can say total equals price times 0.0825. Okay, and then I can say output total price is, okay, and then here I'm going to say end main. Okay, so now that's my pseudocode, and I put that in a text box on my drawing. If I really wanted to put a title here, I could put my title here. I could doing that in another text box, and maybe I make this, 24 font, and maybe I would call this, assignment, 2A or something like that, depending on what I wanted to do. If you really wanted to jazz this up and format it, you have all those options available to you in Google Drawing. I'm just keep misspelling that, okay? So So here's our pseudocode. You could do that in Google Docs. You can do that in Notepad on your computer. You can do that really in any number of text editors or word processing documents. Okay. So now what we can do is we can go ahead and put our flowchart on the same document right next to it. So in order to do that, we come back here with shapes. I'm going to go ahead and get my Terminator. Put that in right there. Background. Start. Center that. Then I'm going to have a declaration. So I need a process box. So that seems to be about the same size, using my guides to help me. And here I'm going to say declare, and I'm going to put them all in one box. That's actually two commands to declare both of those variables, but I'm going to put them in the same box simply because it makes the flowchart easier to read. And I type those. Now I need to make my box a little wider here so that I'm not getting the word wrap, which even though my process box is a little wider here, I might choose to make my Terminator a little bigger there, or I could live without it. I mean, they don't have to be absolutely the same size. They should just be visually appealing, aesthetically clean. Okay. So we've got those. Let's make sure they're aligned. So then now I need a display. So that's going to be the parallelogram, which is this one. So we go ahead and draw that. Make that roughly the same size. Looks about right. Make it transparent. And here we're going to say display the price. Okay, I'm going to move that around a little bit, get it situated properly. Looks to be that's not quite right. There we go, centered right there. Now I need an input, so I'm just going to cut and paste this. I can actually move this with the arrow keys. I don't have to drag it with the mouse. I can move it with my arrow keys up and down. Okay, that's going to be an input price. Then I need another box here, so I'm just going to cut and paste my rectangle. I'm going to move it down using my arrow keys. And here I'm going to say total equals price times 0.0825. And then I'm going to get another output. And here it's going to say display price is then comma. Okay. And then finally, I'll just have my Terminator. So I'm going to just move that down. End. Okay. So now let me just kind of clean these up a little bit, get them situated. They don't really need to be that far apart. Just trying to make them look nice. Make sure they're all lined up, all centered in with each other. One's a little close together. Let me move that down a little bit. Looks pretty good. And now my connectors. Arrows. And notice when I have the boxes centered on top of each other, my arrows are straight. Okay, so in this case, my arrow is not quite straight. So I'm going to want to move that one. So we'll come back, we'll go ahead and get our selector tool there, and let's move this around a little bit so that it's lined up properly. Okay, that's better. And here we'll go ahead and we'll change this to this other anchor point. Actually, we'll go this way with the box. This is the wrong way. What we need here is we need to change the anchor point to this one. I don't know if that's any better or not. Nope, that's worse. Okay, we'll put that back where we had it. Change our anchor point, get that lined up properly. It may seem like I'm going to create links here to make this pretty, but it's important. If you're going to show this to someone and you want them to understand what you're doing, it's important that your example that you're drawing in your pseudocode be neat. Otherwise, it's going to take me a long time to interpret it and understand it. And maybe I'll just give up because I don't want to take I don't want to spend so much time trying to understand this problem as you're forcing me to spend because I'm using your a poorly drawn or a messy drawing. So I want an arrow there. Arrow there. Okay, so there we go. That's our flowchart and our pseudocode on a single document. And again, if I wanted to download that, I would simply come here to download PDF document, and now I have something on my computer that I can upload to Canvas. Okay, so that covers the first chapter, or chapter 2, input, process, and output. I encourage you to read the chapter, work through some of the debugging exercises and some of the exercises and questions and review questions at the end of the chapter. They will be very helpful. As you begin to work on your assignments, both of those assignments will be to do some pseudocode and a flowchart, and you can use Google Drawing to do that and then upload those PDFs to Canvas.